Welcome to the first episode of Before the Rebrand with actual audio. In this episode we will add some functionality to our program that previously did nothing. Specifically, we will add a dialog box that shows the result of the Environs system call, giving us the ROM and machine version of the computer executing our program. We will trigger this dialog box from a menu item, so one of the things we need to add is a line to unhighlight the menu bar when done. We didn't have that previously because the only menu item we had was the quit item. To show that it is possible, we will construct the dialog box manually without reading in data from a resource file. Now there are some problems with that because the new dialog routine still expects the data in memory for those dialog items to be in the same serialized format as a resource item list would have in a resource file. So that means that if we were to put initial values for strings there, it would result in those parts having a variable size, and that would complicate things. But if we originally only have empty strings and set those values later, we can force those dialog items to have the same size and put them in an array. So that's what we're doing here. We have a dialog item record containing a handle to the runtime data, a bounding rectangle, the dialog item type, and then a dummy size byte which we want to be 0. We then, for our program, define a dialog item records type containing 4 dialog item records in an array and a count prefix which we will set to 4 then later. And then to complete things we add a pointer and handle type for that record. So when we create a dialog box, first we want to reserve memory for our dialog items. If you're unfamiliar with Pascal, a cast is just a single argument function with the name of the type as the function name. Once the memory is reserved, we partially initialize the dialog items, and with partially we mean we set the bounding rectangle, the data is null, the item type is static text, and the size, basically the size for the initial value of the string of that static text is 0, so that means we just have initially an empty string as the value for that static text. We then create a dialog using the new dialog routine. There's some extra arguments in here compared to get new dialog. So the first one is where we store our dialog structure. Nil means the heap. Then we have the bounds rectangle for our dialog, an empty string for the title, a visibility flag, integer describing how our dialog will look. Then pointer -1 means the relative order compared to other windows, so this means we want it up front. There's a flag for a close box, which well, doesn't make much sense for a dialog box. Then there's a counter we can fill in ourselves, so that's just to distinguish between multiple windows, should you have those. And finally, we can add the actual handle to the dialog items. We then just call the environs routine and set the static strings to the values returned. That's here. And yeah, we also set the labels correctly. So that's basically it for the coding. The only thing we need to add is if we want to get rid of the dialog, we just add code to dismiss it if you click somewhere else other than the menu bar. And yeah, we probably only want to do this once, so that's why we first check if we didn't dispose it before. So now all that's left is to run the program. So here goes. So these are the values for the machine I'm currently running on, which is a 7500. I also previously ran it on another machine. So here's the value for the Mac Plus. And we also ran it on an SE. So here we go. That's it for this episode. So thanks for watching.